We launched that on Kickstarter as like the follow-up product to the first one. Did $375,000. We're like, whoa, there's like something really big here. Yeah. And it was exciting to be a part of it. We felt that it was extremely valuable for like the client, for the entrepreneur to be able to launch a product in a completely new way. There's still a lot of people that don't even know what crowdfunding is, but it's a way to completely mitigate risk, get all the money up front, pre-sell the product, validate it, all these different things that are cool. Yeah. And it was like lucrative for us. It was lucrative for our clients. We all saw this vision for something that could be a lot bigger than just some productized services under label creative. Let's take this idea of launching products on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and create an entirely new business out of it. And so we did that. In the first year, we saw just a huge amount of success right out of the gates, and we're essentially off to the races.
Welcome. I'm Brian Gates, and this is TRU Leader SHiFT. Our mission is to expand awareness of what's possible in life and in business. I created this show to introduce you to business leaders and life hackers so that you can learn about the pivotal moments in their lives that shifted their perspective on what it means to be successful. My next guest is Mark Pecota. Mark is co-founder and CEO of LaunchBoom. He and his team at LaunchBoom are experts in how to leverage crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo in order to have crazy success in launching new products. Mark is a true entrepreneur, and he has some great lessons to share, from how he continues to successfully launch new products to how he's detaching his identity and his value as a man from his success as a business leader. So let's get right into the powerful conversation I had with Mark Pecota. Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
Great to see you.
You too.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Really interested in learning more about you, hearing about your journey, hearing about your business. But let's start with your business, LaunchBoom.
Yes.
It sounds like it's been an exciting ride.
Still is.
It still is. Awesome. So tell a little bit about LaunchBoom and what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So, LaunchBoom, we help entrepreneurs launch physical consumer products on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Is like the main focus of it. If you peel back the layers a little bit more, really what we're doing though is we're allowing people with business ideas or really product ideas to come test it in the marketplace before they actually go to launch. And then we launch the ideas that are really gonna work and have validation from the market. And then we help those ones that really kill it on Kickstarter and Indiegogo scale through e-commerce. So we're really trying to find not only the ideas that resonate the most with the market, but we're trying to like get alongside them for the ride. Think of us like LaunchBoom. We're trying to basically find the people that are able to really take off and go to the next level. We want to be the catalyst for that.
Awesome. Yeah. So then so that was a very broad overview of the whole process. So then talk about, kind of break that in pieces a little bit. The beginning part, how do you work with people to understand whether they are going to be successful in the launch? And do you work with everybody who you work with, or do you have a filter process? What does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing is that we're working with consumer goods. So not as much business to business, not at all actually. So B2C goods, physical products, so not digital software. We're not like looking to do films, any type of creative works at all. Not saying that stuff doesn't work and isn't valuable for the world, but for us, specifically, we're looking to do physical business to consumer type products.
Okay.
So that's the first filter. The next filter would be what we call our test boom process. So it's really cool. We actually didn't start this way. Like when we started the company, it was anyone that wants to come in, launch with us. It would be a $50,000 investment. $25,000 would go to cover our costs. $25,000 we put into advertising. And then we're going to take 10% of whatever's raised. So it was a big investment into this launch, but we were looking for people that were serious. And so we got a lot of people that were looking to do that, and we had a lot of success at the beginning, but then one or two start coming through. We start advertising before they actually go to launch. Became really clear that they actually weren't going to do that well. And the worst thing possible is when you have, a client that you've been working with for a couple months and you're hitting your head against the wall trying to make the product work and it's just not working. And they've made this huge investment of money and time. Same thing on our side as well. And you're you feel like you're going inevitably just to failure.
Oh, wow.
And so from those experiences, that's where we came up with the idea behind TestBoom, which is it's a much smaller investment up front, where it's $7,500. We're able to take a small portion of that, $2,000, and put it into advertising. And the whole idea is that we want to focus at the very beginning part of the process, the most important part, which is being able to come up with the proper or initial messaging and positioning for your product, identify who we think the audiences are, like the people that want to buy your product, and then we're going to go out there, build the basic marketing assets, like take photos of your product, make some videos of the product, actually build a marketing funnel, which is like the website where we're going to collect information about people that are interested, and then we're going to advertise on Facebook, Instagram, send them to that site, start to get actual data back from the marketplace, and we're going to use that data to have a conversation with our client. Say, hey, look, based off of this data that we're seeing, so the amount of people that are interested in your product, this is how likely we think success will be for your project if you were to go into a full product launch on Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
So smaller investment up front to do some testing.
Exactly.
Before, which makes a lot of sense. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I even tell our team, because it's easy for our team members that are leading the project to get attached to the results of the product, meaning that if they have poor metrics, that they think that they're doing a poor job. And I was like, no, the whole idea is to focus on the process that we set out, our system of testing the product accurately. You do that to the best of your ability, and if you have poor metrics, then great, you did a great job. Because not only are you're giving the entrepreneur the data that they need to hear, and sometimes that truth can be difficult to hear. But I'll tell you that the vast majority of our clients, like 95%, I use that percentage all the time, but let's say most of them are extremely happy with the whole entire service that we provided because they understand the value that we're providing. Cool. At the end of the day, it's a small investment to learn a lot about your product.
I imagine there's quite a bit of emotion attached with those entrepreneurs, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so they passed your test. Well, they passed that filter, and as far as you wanting to continue to work with them, they get it into the next phase, which is kind of the launch phase. Is that right?
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Yeah. So this is where they would go to our LaunchBoom program, which is the name of our company. Essentially, at this point, we've identified that they have a high degree of likelihood of being successful if they go to actual launch. So really, it's
successful in raising money.
Raising money on the platform. Being essentially our lowest benchmark for success is reaching six figures on the campaign. Okay. Because of the investment that they're going to be making, even doing six figures, oftentimes they'll probably be losing money a little bit. But making money on crowdfunding is difficult. It's a whole other conversation that we could have if you wanted to. But in terms of the system, we're essentially building up the other assets that they'll need to help them launch, which would be the campaign page. Basically, think of it as like a big landing page, campaign video, like a pitch video or sales video, coming up with what the pricing structure will be, how we're actually going to be, like the strategy behind pricing the product, discount tiers, things that will run out, email marketing, and then of course we're just going to continue to build an email list of people that want to buy the product once we go live. Because the whole idea is that when we launch, the idea of LaunchBoom is to have a LaunchBoom is to get funded on the first day.
To hit your goal.
Hit your goal.
Or exceed your goal. Yeah.
Exactly. So the whole idea behind crowdfunding, for the people that don't know, is that essentially you're setting a goal for your campaign. You're saying that I want to raise, let's say, $30,000 over the next 30 days. And that's my goal. And then you say, okay, I'm going to launch, and then everyone's going to be able to come to that campaign and essentially pre-order the product. So they'll go on there, they'll contribute to the product, and then once you hit your goal, you can keep funding, so it doesn't end. And so what we're trying to do is get you funded extremely quickly, show a lot of success, and then the platforms Kickstarter and Indiegogo, you can almost think of them as like product discovery websites. Like people go on there and browse for cool stuff at a discount. They want to be the first people to get in there. And so to get
the early adopters that are cruising around on that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. And so what we're trying to do is, by getting funded quickly, is that you actually rise up in the rankings on the popular category for both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Gives you access to literally millions of visitors that are looking at your product. And so last time I looked, it was about 23% of all the funds raised on our projects, on average, come from the platforms themselves, meaning that's people that we don't technically have to pay for, right?
Yeah.
It's just organic traffic that is coming because we had a successful day 1, day 2, and you start to get traffic back from the platforms.
So it's just like any other algorithms with social media, Google, that it works in a similar way to where certain metrics, which one of them would be exceeding your goal in your launch or during your launch period, then it's going to throw it to essentially their news feed or to the top of their list. These guys are just kind of browsing around looking for products.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so then is it better to set your target low or high? Does that matter?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a great question. The first question I would ask back to anyone that asked me that question would be, well, what is the actual minimum amount that you need for you to continue on with this product?
Okay.
Because there are some people that will purposely set goals low, but if you reach your goal, you legally have to continue with the project to the best of your ability. Like that's the actual like contract that you're signing with Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Is that to the best of your ability, you're going to try to make whatever you promised in your campaign. So if you absolutely need $100,000, then set your goal at $100,000.
Okay.
That would be the first thing. But if you, and this is the case for a lot of people that are maybe multiple time entrepreneurs, or they have some funding, they're using crowdfunding as a like marketing strategy, and they're going to be going through with the production of the product essentially no matter what, unless it like completely bombed. Then that would be really good feedback from the market.
Yeah,
they probably shouldn't go through with it. But let's say that pretty much no matter what, they're going to go through with the product. Then we set the goals intentionally low.
Okay.
So usually around, let's say like 15 to 30 grand, sometimes up to 50 grand. And the idea is to hit that extremely quickly, blow past it, and then just continue to fund from there. Because a campaign that is, let's say, 4,000% funded looks much better than even being 100% funded.
Oh, okay.
From like a credibility standpoint. Like
and in the algorithms, that'll throw that higher up in search results if that's the case?
It can. Right? There are other factors that play into it, and Kickstarter is definitely savvy enough that they understand that people are setting their goals intentionally low.
Yeah.
So they still like to help the campaigns that are not getting as much attention, and maybe they still need to get funded. Like they'll still show them up there, but it for sure helps. And I would say it helps even from a PR perspective. It's a better story to write about. This campaign got funded in the first 24 hours. Also, if like sharing it, or anyone coming to the page for the first time that's a prospective buyer and they see that this thing is vastly overfunded. So I was reminding me, there was a campaign one time that set their goal at $1. It was like for a CD or for like a band, and they were like, I don't know, so much funded, like 25,000% funded or something, which is more of a joke. But I wouldn't recommend doing that. Seems a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if the algorithm was that simple, then everybody would do that. Exactly. So obviously it's not. So, and then if you don't reach your target, you don't get any of it, right?
Well, okay. So on Kickstarter, you don't. It's what's known as fixed funding. So if you don't reach your goal, then all the money goes back to the backers, and you don't have to do anything. On Indiegogo, they have flexible funding, which no matter what, you're going to keep the money. I would say it's controversial, the fact that they do that, because it doesn't really make sense. I mean, it really doesn't make sense. I mean, I love Indiegogo. We do a lot of work with Indiegogo, but I would say that that's a questionable tactic or like a questionable option to have on the platform. If you say that you need to raise this much money, but then you raise less than it, and the entrepreneur still gets the money, it does sound a little fishy.
Is there a requirement to follow through on Indiegogo?
I actually don't know exactly what the terms are, but there most likely is some type of requirement in there.
And if you don't hit your goal, and that means that you don't have enough to be successful, but then you have to deploy those dollars. You're just throwing good money after bad.
Yeah, the requirement is not that you have to create the product. It's that to the best of your ability, you try to create your product.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you can show that you've done everything, you spent the money.
Good faith effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Right on. Okay, so that's the launch period.
Yes.
And now what? Well, and then your next phase is the scale phase.
Yeah.
So what percentage of companies are you taking into that?
So currently this is a pretty new initiative. We've been doing it for the past quarter, really. So like the past 3 months.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly how many people we're going to bring into this, but I think it's probably going to be a much smaller percentage. So anywhere from I would say 5 clients maximum for probably the next 6 months that we would want to work with, because kind of how it works is that you have, if you go back to the test boom, it's like you have a lot of people coming through test boom that whittles down to a smaller amount that goes to the LaunchBoom system, and that's even a validator for us and for the client to see which ones are going to be the best candidates to try to scale them on e-commerce.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a smaller amount, and the whole idea there is that, okay, now that we understand how to position your product, how to market your product online, let's now actually take you to the next level. So great, you rose hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars through crowdfunding. Let's make that $1 million a month and go through e-commerce and take your company to the next level.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That sounds like fun.
yeah, it definitely is.
That'd be great. All right, so
Yeah.
you with some co-founders founded this company. You guys are doing really well with it. It's growing like crazy. So congrats on your success.
Thank you.
It's awesome. So how the heck do you know how to do any of this stuff? What's
I
been your
don't know how to do any of it.
You figure it out each day, right?
Yeah.
So what has been your journey in life that has led you, kind of brought you up to current day?
By the way, we definitely faked it till we made it.
Okay.
Like, quite a bit at the beginning. I will put that out there first. I feel like we've been doing that, or I've been doing that pretty much my entire career, is like mostly having an idea for what we want to do, and then having like a general idea of how the mechanics work, but there's like a lot of the, the devil's in the details. A lot of the details trying to figure that out was, okay, let's sell it and then figure it out on our own. So with that said, let's go back.
So you're that's a certain personality type, where you're willing to take that risk and do that. Yeah, where me, I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I want to know, what kind of holds me back in some things is I need to know it's going to be perfect. I need to have it all figured out, and that can hold me back. And in some ways it can be healthy, in other ways it can be very toxic.
Absolutely.
And holding me back. So you're wired differently.
Well, I actually think I'm wired more similar to you than you may think.
Okay.
I do have. It does cause like quite a bit of anxiety, even going out there and not having things as planned out as I would want. Over time, I've gotten much better at trusting in my own ability
to figure it out.
Yeah, to figure it out.
Okay.
It's like, I can't remember who said it, but I love it. It's like, to worry is to bet against yourself. And that always like resonates with me. I'm like, oh man, that's so true.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah,
that's great.
So it's like whenever I'm worried about something or anxious, like, well, do I not trust myself that I'm going to be able to figure this out?
Yeah,
it's like, no, I do.
It's because there's a lot. I mean, you can really unpack that, right?
Yeah,
Because to worry is to be betting against yourself. That's the quote.
Yeah. To bet against yourself.
To bet against yourself. Yeah, because it's really a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
And it's a lack of trust that everything's going to happen the way it should, right?
Yeah.
Because if you fail, that's okay too. And don't worry about failing, because failing is information. It's learning.
Yeah.
It's a positive.
Yeah, because either way you look at it, success or failure, I mean, there's really nothing to worry about at the end of the day, because...
And it's easy to intellectually feel that, but emotionally,
believe me,
that's tough.
It's way simpler to say it than to actually live it.
Right.
Like, I still worry. Don't worry, but it's like don't worry. It's a... It's something that like comes up for me, like
you're
when I start
aware
thinking
of.
about it. I'm aware of it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's okay.
On that same vein, though, of me feeling like I'm like wired, like what you're talking about, like having that that desire to have things like be perfect and really planned out well in advance. I feel like I got balanced out with that with like my business partners. More specifically Tom. So like kind of going back to the original question with like the journey of this. So I met Tom, Thomas Todorian, back at the end of my college career. We were both in this internship at this digital marketing agency called eBoost Consulting. Awesome internship, taught us a ton about like everything, a really good basis of like how this all works. And they let us practice on on nonprofits, which was cool. So they did pro bono work, and we got to have clients, nonprofits, and then use everything that we learned to come up with digital marketing strategies to improve whatever their biggest need was or problem was.
Well, that's fun.
And so that's how I got to know Tom. We also got to learn a lot together. And then at the end, he came to me and he said he was just graduating UCSD, and I went to San Diego State. He said, "Hey, Mark, like I've always had this idea of wanting to start a creative agency. called Label Creative. That's what we want to call it. He's like, do you want to be in it? I'm like, sure. let's do it. It sounds fun. I'm like just about to graduate college. I don't really want to get a job, to be honest. And I like felt like I could figure this stuff out. I was like fired up from all this. So Tom and then another guy in the internship, Mike Reevey, and we all came together and then started Label Creative. And then there was a couple other guys that like jumped in. Victor Shu is one of them who's still with us. And then another couple guys that have left us since that point. But that kicked it off. So that was essentially us trying to figure it out, not wanting to get a job, but going out there and really learning as much as we can about starting an agency, working with clients, everything that goes into that. That was about a 3.5-year journey of building that company up, which we were like fairly successful, but it was definitely a grind.
So continue in your journey.
In my story?
Yeah,
Right,
and your story of Label Creative, and then
sounds good.
Launches from there.
So,
No
I mean,
pun
Label
intended.
Creative, I think I've made it like abundantly clear that it was a grind. It was still fun. Learned a lot, but it was becoming pretty apparent during the last year of the Label Creative journey that like this was not what I wanted to do. This is not what the partners wanted to do for the long term. We just couldn't see a vision for it that was really compelling. Like I was like, I don't know where we're gonna take this. We were doing such like custom projects for everyone, and it was really difficult to scale, and it was hard, and it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't very fulfilling. So it's okay for things to be hard, but if they're not fulfilling, like then what's the point?
Yeah.
It's like passion is like what you're willing to suffer for. It's like I was not very passionate about what we're doing. So anyways, we knew that we wanted to do something different. And along the same time, I read a book called Built to Sell. It's like this short little book. It's actually it's written as a fiction book, but it talks about like teaches you so much about business. And it's telling the story of a guy that has an agency I think it's called Stapleton Agency, and he's burnt out. He decides he wants to sell his company, learns that's not worth anything because he has like no like unique systems, it's not scalable, all these different things. And so he's like, what do I have to do to make this thing different? And it's essentially treating his business like a product was like the big takeaway from that book. And so I was thinking about what we did. It's like we only treated what we did like a service. Like it was just completely custom. We would always just do like whatever the client wanted. It was unique to each client that we had. But we didn't have something that was structured, more productized. You can still have a service, but we can productize. And something that's like much more scalable. So you can like easily teach it to people. You can easily sell it to people. You know who to say no to because you know exactly who your customers are. You know exactly the cost. It's not custom every single time. Like, wow, that sounds amazing. Yeah. And so we started looking for ideas that we could turn into productized services. We tried like video services, all these different things. And then we looked back and like at all our clients that we had worked with at Label Creative, and we had the opportunity to work on 3 crowdfunding campaigns. One was for a company called Aqua Design Innovations, who was actually our first signed client ever. We did their first initial website a long time ago. Shout out to Kevin Liang. And so we did a crowdfunding campaign for him for his first product called EcoCube, and that did, I think it was around $75,000 on Kickstarter. So I'm like, wow, that's great. Nice. You know, we helped with it. Like we were definitely learning as well. It wasn't all us. The second thing, we had a client that's like, wow, that was cool. Can you do that for me? And it was for a client called 1 Hour Break. And it's like a stress and anxiety relief spray using kava. Okay. And I did $102,000 on Indiegogo. And then Aqua Design Innovations came out with EcoCube C, and we launched that on Kickstarter as like the follow-up product to the first one. Did $375,000. We're like, whoa, there's like something really big here. Yeah. And it was exciting to be a part of it. We felt that it was extremely valuable for like the client, for the entrepreneur to be able to launch a product in a completely new way that people really, like most people, there's still a lot of people that don't even know what crowdfunding is. Right. But it's a way to completely mitigate risk, get all the money up front, pre-sell the product, validate it, all these different things that are cool. Yeah. And it was like lucrative for us. It was lucrative for our clients. And so we're like, we think we want to do this. So we started honing in on that. And we started getting some clients. We're still under Label Creative, but we started kind of trying to sell like a productized service. And then we met a guy named Will Ford. So Will Ford was he was the advisor for Aqua Design Innovations. So he's little bit older than me, has had more experience in business, has some other successful business ventures and exits. And he saw what we did with the EcoCube campaigns, and he said, that's really cool. I want to go talk to these guys. He comes in, he talks to my business partner, Tom, and I. Within a month, we decided to bring him in, and we completely transitioned our business to LaunchBoom.
Oh, wow.
Because just from the conversations that we had, we all got along really well, and we all saw this vision for something that could be a lot bigger than just some productized services under label creative. Let's take this idea of launching products on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and create an entirely new business out of it. And so we did that. In the first year, I mean, we saw just a huge amount of success right out of the gates, and we're essentially off to the races.
Did you go all in with LaunchBoom, or were you still doing some other things?
We finished off our projects over the next 3 months, I think it was. That's what we said. We told all of our clients that we currently had, hey, we're transitioning our business to this new model, and we're going to finish your projects or any ongoing projects. We're going to stop it here, and then we're going to go transition to the next thing.
Okay.
Most people were really excited for us. Some people were not. They were like, we can't use you anymore for the services that we thought you were going to continue to do.
That's a big compliment.
But yeah, man, like the weight off my shoulders of actually knowing who to say no to. I got really understanding what we were selling and knowing which customers are our customers and which ones don't make sense anymore for us. Because back in the beginning with Label Creative, it's like anyone that would come in with anything that we thought we could possibly help, we would make it work for them. Yeah. Just so we could get the money in and learn. And then we thought that's what we were doing, was to build a custom solution. But that's not the way that I want to run the business. And
a lot of businesses have gone through that, are in different various stages of that same journey of, we're just going to be everything to everyone.
Exactly.
And then the companies most of the companies that are really successful have chosen that one. A lot of different terms around it, hedgehog theory being one of them, right? That I think Jim Collins came up with. But sticking with what you can be the best at in the world.
At least starting with that. That's the thing. It's I think being able to start with something that is much more niche is the way to go. Okay. I mean, the most famous example I think would be Amazon. Amazon, he always knew he wanted to be the everything store, Jeff Bezos. But at the beginning, they're we're just going to focus on books. That's it. And they dominated the book market. They completely changed it, disrupted it, and then they went out and expanded from there.
Well, his narrow niche wasn't selling books. It was an e-commerce platform, right? That's what they were going to be the best in the world at.
Exactly.
And they stuck with that. And then their plan, their strategy was, okay, what are the steps to getting to taking over taking over the world of, of retail, well, e-commerce, I guess.
Or just the world.
Yeah, or just right? They're not done yet.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're not done.
Yeah.
So then, so during that time of kind of, as you've gone, how have you determined what path you want to go in your life? Is it about creating this big business? Is it about living a certain life? Where are your priorities, and how do you kind of frame that for yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because let me just kind of preface with, a lot of people, you're how old?
29.
29.
Yeah.
And you've accomplished a ton for 29, which is awesome. A lot of people get midlife and they've built this big successful business, and then they question why am I doing this? This company's running me. It's running my life.
Yeah. And
then they either make a shift, or they just hard charge until they retire and then hope to live their life after that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like I'm going to have trouble articulating exactly how I make the decisions right now. I mean, I'll try, but it's because I feel like I even swing back and forth, and I think about this question a lot of even why I'm getting up every day to do these things. I feel like when I really boil it down, we had talked about this before earlier this week, that it's what I'm doing every day is that I want to be around amazing people, and I guess I would define that as people that share similar values to me, people that are looking to grow constantly, also people that are looking to have fun, and really enjoy what they do. And then I also want to continue to solve problems that I find interesting every single day. And But I think like another word that is really big for me is like creating. Like I just love to be able to create new things because like our world is constantly changing. I think one of the coolest things that I can do is like add to it or just like create something in it, which is a really broad thing, but I actually kind of like that because like whether it be like, me going home after this and playing guitar and creating something new, which I love to do, or like going in and creating something new for our business that like really gets me excited. Like all of that is like part of like the why of getting up. But going to your question about like, are we just trying to build something like really big, big business?
Essentially, what is your why behind all this?
Yeah. And I think, some of the things I just said, I think answer that.
Yeah.
But I still do have like aspirations to like continue to build, to build LaunchBoom up to be something large, but I don't know exactly how big. I guess when I find myself like really thinking about this, it's not so much like, oh man, LaunchBoom needs to be $100 million company, but it's like I just want to continue to like grow it every single. I really focus on just like quarters. I found that like when I shorten my like time horizons, it actually like is a much more accurate way for me to live because I don't know if it's just me, but like I feel like things are constantly changing in my world, like new feedback coming in, I'm learning, and then like I shift like which way I want to go. So just looking at like a quarter time horizon tends to be the most accurate way in terms of like setting goals and objectives. So yeah, every quarter it's like we want to grow like a little bit more. Like we're just constantly growing and making this better. And the way that like the reason why I like to do that is I do have aspirations to like become like wealthy. I do have aspirations to like continue to work with like more people, whether that be like employees in our company and like teach them more because like that is fulfilling for me, or to work with like cooler companies and entrepreneurs and help them launch more things into the world because again, like I like to create and like solve problems. And so that fulfills that aspect of it. And I also like the more that I've gotten like grown in my like entrepreneurial journey and with LaunchBoom, like I've just like seen that like LaunchBoom or like just the business world, like a business in general can be like it is a vehicle for me to like live whatever life I want to. It's not like the other way around. Like I am not responsible for like, making LaunchBoom what it is as much so as like LaunchBoom, like making me who I am, like allowing me to like live this lifestyle that I want. So like flipping it and like having a different lens on what the business is really helpful for me.
That's correct.
Even like the relationships that I want to have to like the hobbies that I want to have, like the fun I want to have, like the money I want to make, like it can provide all that, or at least like trying to see how it could provide that.
So then what does that look like for you? What does your ideal life look like that you want LaunchBoom or whatever else you're doing to help prop up and provide for?
Yeah. I think I would start, first like with like relationships are something that are extremely, extremely like important to me. And I found that especially like during like the label creative phase or like the beginning of LaunchBoom phase, I was so focused on like being in the business and like, okay, I need to put everything I got into this business because I feel some responsibility to do so. Which there is. There is some like I have responsibility to people or I would take that responsibility. But I would sacrifice like the relationships that I would have with friends, family, girlfriend, things like that. So I don't ever want it to be something that's so consuming that it gets in the way of the relationships, but instead it allows me to have better relationships. And like how it can do that is by like let's say like financial freedom, right? Like financial freedom, like allowing me to not have to worry about that. Okay, so that's taken care of because of the business. Or like time freedom, like, okay, it's a really well put together system. We have great people in it that aren't like killing themselves. Like it works. I now have freedom of time to go out there and like spend time with like people I care about, or like meet the person I want or have the space to do that. So I think those are some things that would come up for me first is like, I want to be able to, have a lifestyle where I have financial freedom of time. I can spend time with people that I really care about and like build relationships, go on adventures, like go out there, travel. And I also want to create something that is like constantly challenging me and I'm learning from. So if I feel like I'm not learning anything from like my business or LaunchBoom, like at that point we would have to make some type of change in it, because it does provide an outlet for me to do that.
Okay.
I go through periods where like I feel like I'm getting kind of complacent in the business, or like I'm not focusing on a problem that's challenging enough. And then like, oh, okay, now I need to go do that.
Yeah.
So
it's relationships, it's adventure, it's continuous growth.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you're looking for out of life.
yeah,
So it's about designing your business in a way that it provides that,
yeah.
right?
Or it's a huge contributor to
Okay.
that. It allows for that, or it creates space for that. I just don't want to create something that's like all consuming, like a business that's all consuming. And there are entrepreneurs that love that. But for me, like I found that I'm like feel much more fulfilled when I have space to do other things besides just having the business consume everything. Yeah.
And that's going to be way more sustainable
Yeah.
for you as far as
For me
fulfillment.
personally. Yeah.
Yeah. And for most.
I think for most, I mean, I think a
Yeah.
lot of people feel like an obligation to have to kill themselves, and as being an entrepreneur, there's
Yeah.
definitely that like idea of what do they call it, like hustle porn or something, like the Gary V. I don't know if you've ever
I haven't heard him
that
say
concept.
that.
I'm
No.
pretty sure. Well, he doesn't say that, but
Okay.
other people call it that because he's always killing himself and grinding, which I think he loves it. But there's other people that then feel they have an obligation, like they have to like kill themselves as an entrepreneur. If they're not working 80-hour weeks, they're not doing it right.
Right. Well, they don't feel. I mean, for a lot of people, it's some type of insecurity that's driving them, related to the need to achieve, and it's like it's an
100%.
addiction, like
Yeah.
anything else. You know?
I mean, I would say I was caught up in that for like a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like my entire identity was tied to my business, like the success of the business. Once really 2 years ago is when I started to realize that. And I started to do a lot more personal development programs, and also had issues in like my personal relationship. Like I was engaged. We ended up like calling off the wedding and all that stuff, and that opened up. Okay, like who am I?
Yeah.
Type of thing. From that, then realized that like, wow, I'm so wrapped up in like my business, like my identity is all there. Like, who is Mark if I am not like just LaunchBoom, or if I am not like this guy in this relationship, with this girl, and started to like really unpack what that.
Did that all start to shift around the same time?
Yeah, it was all related, because I didn't start like really looking internal until all that happened. Because like once a big event like that happens, it's like, all right, let's. Well, for me at least, I started to look inward.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, what's going on? My whole entire life got shooken up.
Yeah.
And so I really started to go into a period of reflection.
So what did you find? What did you see that was driving you prior to that moment? What was driving you to put all of your energy and really tie your identity to your business?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that I learned that like my idea of like my self-worth, like where I like got my confidence from and worthiness from, was from like validation from others. Like that's the number one thing that I've learned over the past 2 years, and like how powerful that was, I guess, or how big of an influence that had on me in terms of my own self-worth. And so my business, right? People would say, wow, LaunchBoom seems like it's going really well. Like, you're a young guy doing great work and building this company. Like, that's awesome, And I would be like, yeah. I mean, and I don't think it's bad to like
shot in the arm.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And but it was to the point where like everything, or not everything, but most of my self-worth was tied up in like identity around success in business. Like the relationship thing as well. I'll bring that up because it's like being with someone and feeling like that love from them was also like validation from like an outside party.
Yeah. So so that relationship was largely about feeling love from somebody else.
I just felt like I learned after that was gone that like how much of my self-worth came from like her, right? Of like knowing that I was loved by someone else. Same thing. It's like the parallel is exactly the same with the business. It's like having the success, like being a successful business person, like propped up my own self-worth. So it's like, let's say like those two things are gone, then where does it come from? And so that question is like, I mean, has been a catalyst for like diving deeper into myself and like really discovering like, where does that come from? And I've just realized like, it's like innately there, like being worthy and like not having to have like outside validation, like is because like innately, like I'm Mark, like I am already like everything I need to be. And it's like where I'm at right now is okay, and I can just continue to get better every single day. Just compare myself to how I was yesterday. Like I resonate with that like 100%. Think about that all the time. That's all I can do. And yeah, all I can try to be is, what I like to say is be the most Mark. That's it.
That's great. The most authentic you, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's great. Because I mean, that's really powerful because I went through a similar shift where my identity was my name, title, and company that I worked with, and that, having the realization that, no, that's detaching from that is a healthy thing, but a really scary thing at the same time. Because then who the hell am I?
Yeah.
If I'm not my title in the company that I'm with, who the hell am I? And that gap, for me, was actually, that gap happened for a while before I fully understood. And I'm still, obviously the journey continues of discovering who you are, right? But that realization of our worth is inherent. We absolutely are worthy now. If we didn't do a single thing, we are a very worthy, being. And that really comes down to the love that we have for ourselves.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I heard you say that. I mean, you were looking for outside sources to feel that love for yourself because you really maybe weren't feeling it yourself.
No, you're exactly right.
And then you break up with your fiance. That love's gone. Holy crap. If you have a bad day at work, that validation's gone. That's a terrible feeling. And everybody goes through it. Everybody, to some extent, has those experiences.
Yeah.
And the gift that you had a couple of years ago was an event that allowed you to wake up to it so that you could dig into it. And it was your choice then to dig further into it, to understand it, where that's not the easy path. The easy path is to just numb yourself out, maybe start drinking or eating or just going and working your butt off and focusing even more into that.
I did all of that.
Okay.
All the above. Yeah. I mean, I got to like, not like insanely rock bottom places, but I definitely got to like very dark places just based off of not talking about like how I was feeling, like not seeking any type of support, and just numbing out and stuff. And so either through work or alcohol, things like that. And then it got to the place where I'm like, I'm just tired of being, I realized that I was being a victim and I liked it. I mean, and that kind of scared me. It was like, oh man, it's easier just to be someone that is like being the victim in this situation because it kind of feels good, even though it doesn't. It's like this really weird conflicting feeling.
Interesting, yeah.
Because it's easier. I think that's why. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just tired of this. I don't know. There wasn't like a specific catalyst, but I do remember sitting on my couch and being like, I'm tired of this. Like I just need to do something else. Like let's focus on the simple things. And right now I'm talking mostly about like the relationship stuff, but I think that was a big turning point in my life in terms of really trying to discover like who am I, like what you were talking about a little bit ago.
So then from that point, sitting on the couch forward, what did you start to do? Were there certain books you read? Were there you said some personal development stuff in there? What types of things were you doing?
Yeah, I mean, okay, if I boil it down to everything, I actually just sent my buddy a list of things that I've been doing to help him through something right now.
Oh, perfect.
Number one would be like taking care of myself. So like am I eating right, drinking water, sleeping, working out? I think that would be like the main list. Okay, those taken care of, like I have that, those are good. And let's go to the next thing. It's like, now this will go into like, I don't know, this isn't a specific order. Now I'll just start randomly listing things off.
Sure.
Therapy has been extremely important to me. I think therapy is great just in general. I view it as like a way to like almost have like just someone to like unload on and also help you think more accurately. So I started going to see a therapist.
Is that what type of therapist is that?
I'm not sure exactly what you would call it. I mean,
she's just... Do you work with her on What types of things do you
I mean,
talk
really,
with her about? Is it her?
it's a her. Yeah, her name's Lisa. Like anything that's going on. I mean,
So
initially,
it's business, relationships.
I can talk about whatever I
personal
want.
stuff.
Yeah,
it's
I
whatever.
talk a lot about personal. You know? I mean, I started seeing her as like a couples therapist, and then like continue to see her. But therapy, like on a frequent basis for me, was really powerful. Also went through a program called ALA, which was really powerful as well. It's like a personal development seminar which you've gone through. But definitely helped. Like I'd say it's like a very quick way of like diving in deep and like helping me be more aware of things that I may want to work on, or like may not be as accurate of thinking, like ways that I was being, like may not be the way I want to show up.
What are some of the things you learned through that? What about yourself, and maybe did you have some breakthroughs as you went through it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the validation topics that we were talking about before definitely came out of that.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I started to become more aware of that. And I mean, I'm still like, I mean, now it's like awareness is like the first step, right? Then it's like figuring out then it's like understanding why you're that way. And then it's like now the mastery of it, like trying to be able to shift out of it. So I'm still working for sure on the
rest of our lives.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the validation was a big part of it. I also had this whole like, I don't know where it came from, to be honest, but this whole concept of like what it meant to be like a man for me. Like I felt like I wasn't stepping up and being a man. I guess if I would unpack it, it would be like I didn't feel like I was like insecure often. I wouldn't show up as being like confident. I would like have a lot of qualities of being like a scared boy type thing. And when someone would like tell me that, like, hey, like when I've seen you show up as being like a scared little boy, like that would like land like largely for me, or did. I remember the first time we went there.
Land in a way of, oh yeah, that makes sense, or like screw you for saying that.
No, like it makes sense. It makes sense.
Okay, you got it.
I even remember the week before I even going to ALA, I had no freaking clue what I was signed up for, to be honest. I just had a friend that went through it, and he's like, "You're gonna get a lot out of it." I'm like, all right, I trust you. It's actually mad to sell. You've had,
yeah.
And so even a week before I went to ALA, I remember having thoughts of like, you know what, I just feel like a little kid. Like all these like feelings I'm having, and I'm like, I still feel like I'm a little boy. Like, who am I?
Right.
You know? And like, how do I like stop thinking this way? You know? And
that's perfect segue into going to doing some deep work on yourself, having that realization. That's
exactly.
awesome.
And so when someone said that, I'm like, whoa, like how do you
how do you know?
Yeah, how do you know? Of course.
And the reality is that's the case for every human being, right?
Which we've talked about.
Yeah, we all have this inner child that comes up in our life. It just we show up as our little child often in life, right?
Yeah.
And some people live in their inner child the majority of their life. Like majority of their day and majority of their life, they never really acknowledge it, and they're just running like scared little boys, little girls, reacting, being angry, having something to prove through business. I mean, even that.
Yeah.
If somebody is driven to prove others wrong, because often because they were trying to prove their worth to their dad or their mom, whatever it is, and that runs their entire life. And that's kind of what we were talking about. Then you get to a certain point and you say, well, why am I doing this all again?
Yeah.
And especially if you start to start to look at yourself and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing this for other people?
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous.
That is the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
I've had that realization many
And
times.
it's so, I mean, we all do it to some extent, for a period of our life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still battle with that too.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking about that, it's like what decisions am I making because I think like they're for someone else, or I think about how they're going to perceive me by doing this.
Yeah. Which, and to some extent, it's a healthy thing for society to operate in that way. But there's, it's a pretty fine line, and we get to cross it.
But a lot of times it's like, because you're right. I mean, none of this stuff's absolute. Like, there's no like absolutely one way to look at things, or like it doesn't mean like what we were saying, like thinking about how someone's going to perceive you is not a wrong thing, and it can be helpful.
Right.
But it's like being able to identify when it's getting to some place that's like more unhealthy.
And it's the attachment attachment of how people perceive you to your feeling of how your own worth and value.
Exactly.
That's the unhealthy part of it. Feedback, understanding how you're kind of coming off to others, 100% really important, really great to pay attention to. But if you're taking that feedback and saying, oh, because they said that, I am not worthy, and I'm not worthy unless they say and they validate me and what I'm doing, that's the unhealthy part.
For sure.
And that's, and that what you said about not being a man, feeling like you're a man and your little boy really resonates with me too, and with a lot of people that I work with and have met. That's the thing. And I really feel that it comes down to a really deep sense of self-worth and confidence and knowing that you are an amazing person, you are enough, you are worthy. And if you have that knowing, in the moments when you do have that knowing, life is just fun, it's easy, it's joyous, and any negative feedback that comes your way, it's information. You get to take it in and say thank you very much, even if somebody's telling you that they think you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You get to say, all right, well, I'm not, but there's some information in there that between all their, whatever their frustration that I can take and use.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a beautiful place to live from, right? And especially in relationship, right? Because the way you described your previous relationship where you were looking for their love to validate your worth, I've been in that too. And that's a scary thing because then in a relationship, you show up to where you're doing things to feel their love, meaning that you're not going to stand into who you truly are and be safe and worthy as an independent. You have an unhealthy attachment to this, which means that you're not going to show up as a man in your relationship. You're not going to take the lead in a relationship because you're going to be worried about it. It's kind of like you have a question mark at the end of everything you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, we're going to go to sushi tonight, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's versus saying, hey, I'd really like to get sushi tonight.
Yeah.
And then she's like, all right, cool, that sounds good. Or, you know what, I don't feel like that. Okay, well, let's come up with a compromise. Being strong in yourself in a relationship. Men aren't just masculine, they're masculine and feminine. And that balance is so incredibly important, right? And again, it's true masculine, true feminine. I call false masculine, false feminine. False feminine is scared little boy. Mm-hmm. False masculine is overly aggressive, trying to prove something, or it's really fear-driven masculinity.
Yeah, I haven't heard someone put it that way, but that makes sense to me. Yeah, categorize it that way.
It's a fascinating topic and an interesting journey as we go.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So congrats on getting into that deeper inner work. And it sounds like you've come a long way in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I definitely have and still have. Like we talked about, it's a lifelong journey of going into this stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, though, because sometimes I feel like there's also a balance of, like, overthinking a lot of this stuff or, like, doing too much, like, work and reflection. I had a coach for a while. His name's Roddy Carter. He's amazing. And he works at a Life Wellness Institute down in Liberty Station. And I worked with him for about, like, 7 or 8 months, and he told me that, he's like, periods of, like, deep self-reflection are destructive. Like, understand that. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, think about it. Like, you're, like, when you're doing, like, deep work, like, diving in really into, like, being aware of all these different things about yourself or trying to understand it and, like, having breakdowns and breakthroughs and all these things, all the words. You're, like, literally, like, changing the way, like, you think, I mean? It's like a tiring process, and it can be, like, emotions all over the place, volatile, at least, I mean, that's how I experienced it.
Yeah.
And so it's like a self-destructive, which has a negative connotation, but it's like, there are two sides to it, like the yin and the yang of it. It can be take a lot of toll, but then it can help you, like, be more clear about the path that you need to take. So his whole point was that you don't want to be in these periods of, like, deep work for, like, too long because you need to take what you've learned and then go out there and, like, go into the world and, like, just, like, live and, like, do, be, and, like, and then start to kind of solidify these things that you found out. So I think about that, it's like going through these periods of, like, deep work and like, breakdown, breakthrough, kind of self-destruction, like, unpackaging everything and then, like, going out there and, like, trying it on, and, like, and really seeing, like, what sits,
I agree. because the deconstructive work, kind of that deep work, the deconstructing your past and understanding why, if you stick just in that why, you can also fall into the victim mentality of, oh, okay, now I understand why I do this, and that, and it's just linked to this. So I guess you can get into that, and you get into just kind of a downward spiral. So it's good to have a good balance, right, of also creating your future. Let's focus, okay, that's great. And now let's be present, but let's also focus on what you want to create going forward. And that good balance of that. I think of it as like kind of a balance of like doing workshops where, because essentially you can do some deep work on your own, but without a coach or some type of group to help you get there, it's hard, right?
It can be difficult, yeah.
So a mix of that, and then I really like Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you follow them at all, but so they're all about creating the future. It's all about putting essentially what they call into the vortex what you want more of. Do you want more happiness, joy, whatever that is? And that's, for me, that's my kind of balance go-to, is I feel like I'm doing a little bit too much of this deconstruct. I need to find a mode to focus more on being present. Eckhart Tolle, all those types of thought leaders in that space. And then, and just in looking forward and what I want to create more of in my life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And trying it on.
Yeah, trying it on.
And getting the feedback.
Exactly. That's a very important part.
Yeah.
There's almost like the personal development junkies. They get like sucked into these things and they don't end up doing anything.
Right.
I remember there was someone that I met at ALA that told me that like the first time I was there, like make sure you don't get sucked into this stuff. So much so that you're like not actually going out there and doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an important piece of it.
That is an important piece, yeah. So then what impacts in the last couple of years related to this discovery of yourself and your self-worth, how has that impacted you and your business?
Me and my business. I mean, the first thing is just like how I show up, every single day. Like it's like I do feel like with the realizations I've had that I've shown up as like a better version of myself, which makes me like a better leader, better decision maker, better coach, for our team. Like I'm confident in like the changes that have been made in me, or the realizations I've had about myself have like positively impacted a lot of people on our team and our business and our clients and everything. It's just like how I'm showing up every day. That's the biggest thing.
How would you describe the culture with your team?
I mean, the biggest thing, so we're a remote team.
Okay.
So we we do have a culture. So our values, so we have family is number one. So it's like, it's unconditional love, but like we're able to give like tough love to our team members and our clients.
Meaning that's your family is everybody you're working with.
Yeah, like everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it extends out to like just like the world in general.
Awesome.
Like as much as possible. It's like trying to view people as like from a perspective of love, like lens of love, like is the way that I feel like we should be looking at things. 2 is like curiosity, like stay curious. 3 is like stay hungry. 4 is love the journey, and 5 is like own it. So like taking responsibility for yourself, for your position. I mean, even just talking about that last value as a remote team, like we're all over the world, literally all over the world. Like we need to have people that take responsibility for themselves, for their work, and are able to be trusted to just go out there and do it. So we have a whole group of people we have 22 people on our team that like live those values, and we hire based off of those at the beginning. We take on a lot of people that don't have that much experience in what we're hiring them for. It's like, do we feel like they have these values? And then a lot of times the icing on the cake is that they have a lot of experience in that role. Because if they have all those values, they're gonna excel. I mean, it's been shown like time and time again for the people that we bring in.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah, that's excellent. And I know, because your partner Tom is who I met, who then put me in touch with you, and he shared essentially. I think his words were, "Mark is the best human I've ever met." Is how he said it. I said, "Wow, okay, that's great," and I get it. I get it. Right? Sounds like you guys have a great partnership and a great friendship and relationship.
I mean, that's really cool. He said that.
Yeah. And so I've really appreciated getting to know you.
Yeah,
and
likewise.
and I thank you for being here.
Of course.
It's been an awesome conversation.
I agree.
And I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it as well.